tall, gangly thing?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to High Roll Radio episode number 12, the live Teamfight Tactics talk show where you, the viewer, are just as much a part of the show as we are. My name is Nick T. Pasquale. You may know me as Gangly, and I'm your host. And we have a plethora of wonderful guests this evening. But before we get to them, let me first introduce my constant co-host of the show. It's Old Man Sullivan, Spicy Appies himself.
Don't call me that.
How you doing, Sully?
Hello. Pretty good. Just chilling. Excited for the show tonight. We got a lot of cool people on.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. So let me just get right into it with who our guests are. We have 3 of the 4 North American World Championship representatives in WasianIverson, JukeYou, and Rereplay. Let's just go ahead first, have everyone kind of go around, introduce themselves, say a couple words. Let's start with you, Wasian.
Sure. So what's up, everyone? WasianIverson. I qualified to Worlds through Midset, and yeah, just been grinding since then.
All right, JukeYou, you're up.
I'm JukeYou. I just won regionals, so I qualified there. I wasn't expecting to, but I'm really happy to be here, and I think I played out my mind for that tournament, so I think I can perform. Yeah.
Awesome. And we're going to talk all about the regionals runs for everyone, and we'll talk about Wasian's path to Worlds as well a little bit later on. But first, let's introduce Rereplay, the last guest of the night.
Hi, I'm Rereplay. Qualified through Worlds through going second in the last regional.
All right. Yeah. So you know what? We have a lot to talk about in terms of regionals. But first, I actually want to hear, Appies, you were not playing at regionals. Were not able to qualify for this set, but it did not stop you from making your way onto the broadcast. I didn't get to hear, but I saw that you were actually on the broadcast for a little bit. Talk about what happened.
They had Nico and I on, and so we knew that we were going to be talking a little bit day one going in, but Nico was working all Friday, and the new Zelda game came out that Friday too, so I was working all Friday. So we went on, both of us, I mean, neither of us having watched any of day one, just trying to bullshit our way through like the entirety of the first thing. So we had like a little part where like we had, we said like our predictions for who we thought was going to win, who thought was going to do well, like a dark horse and our favorite. And interestingly enough, so Malala was my favorite, or was my like person I really wanted to win. And Malala's in chat right now saying WasianIverson is looking very breedable and submissive, which, you know, maybe changing my vote on who I would have wanted to win that tournament. But it was fun. It was cool. We have a podcast of pedigree tonight with three people going to Worlds. One someone who was in set 2 fight night, and someone who was on the main broadcast.
That's right. I kind of want to set the stage, I think, a little bit before we dive into the actual runs of going into the event. And first, before we talk about like how everybody actually did, for anyone who may be listening to this at a later point in time, kind of helping people understand the context of where TFT was before the weekend started. And so I'm going to give my perspective real quick, but I want to open the floor to anyone who kind of saw it in a different light. But I think it's fair to say that going into the event, many people saw the top 3, or at least the top 2, the kind of definite top 2 is Setsuko and Dish Soap as the 2 people they saw. And then from there, I think there was this kind of gap. And then 3 through 5 for a lot of people, or at least I know for me, was kind of this WasianIverson, Rereplay, Kurum, Robin, kind of rounding out that side. And that's kind of where the Don't Talk If You Don't Know power rankings fell. So before we talk about the runs themselves, I'm actually curious to hear from you guys how you saw the like strength of North America going into the event.
Yeah, sure. So I would say pretty similar to what you said. Like, if there's anything maybe a bit different, I feel like Ripple Overdrive for me was definitely included in maybe that like second group.
Agree. Actually,
let's go into so. But yeah, it's like really hard to tell like who's actually the best. But yeah, if I had to guess, like I would probably say something similar to what I ended up on DKI YTK.
JukeYou, I'm curious to hear from you, JukeYou.
I mean, I see it as like, you got the top players, you got Dish and Setsuko. I personally don't value like the old guard players so highly because I think they play a little bit outdated and not flexibly compared to a lot of the newer players. I remember in houses I played against Betham a few times, and he seemed like nuts to me. Maybe it was just a couple of good games, like really flexible games. And I was like, I think Setham is being underrated relative to the rest of the power rankings. And obviously, I think Wasian's great. I think like all the solo queue names, I think, were more flexible than the old names. So those were the people I thought were going to be good in like the sort of the middle of the pack, and I thought that I was amongst those. So when Admiral asked me, I said I was like probably rank, 12th or so it's middle of the pack.
Yeah, that's a really cool observation too. The idea of like the old guard being less flexible and like the way that we should come back to that at some point. But over here, Rereplay too, what your thoughts were on the power rankings.
Yeah, I feel like my power rankings were like really close to like the don't talk if you don't know power rankings, like the assembling of them. Yeah, I kind of do agree with JukeYou, where like I thought the old guard was a little lower, and there's a lot of like new names that played really well this whole set, while like the old guard was not as performing as well in previous tournaments.
Appy, you've been a panelist in the past. You were not on this previous one, correct?
Yeah, I haven't been in the last couple times, so I just haven't been following as closely as I probably should be to be a panelist. But I think it has to be said too that like don't talk if you don't know, like having a power ranking in place is really important for the scene, just because it gives people a general idea of like it gives people like something to work for, like if you're as a player, and also like viewers, particularly if they're coming in for the first time, an idea of like who to look at and like where people are relatively speaking. But I think it is true that like there's a lot of there's a lot of leeway in terms of where people are actually in terms of power level, right? Like I don't think it's never, I don't think there's ever been a don't talk about power ranking that is like spot on. It's just kind of to give a general idea, and it just gives something for people to talk about, right? And like a good resource. So I think it's hard to like subscribe to it is like and that's why I see like a lot of the old guard people. So I think even a lot of the different panelists probably don't actually rate the old guard people as highly as they do, but like like you don't like I think a lot of them, for example, I think a lot of time like no shots at, like Soju or someone, right, who's like very very popular, but is generally kind of probably a little too high on the don't talk if you don't know power ranks compared to like where a lot of people probably actually would put him. So.
Yeah, I think like one other big thing about the power rankings is like usually they like tend to take everyone's ballot maybe like a week before the tournament, and like that doesn't like sound like that long, but actually like when there's like new patches every 2 weeks, like playing a patch for 1 week can like actually change like basically the rankings and like how good everyone is. Like it can have such a big impact on that.
Yeah, for me, I was not good before Wednesday, and then after Wednesday, I like ascended and sort of reached back into my like peak form and sort of got ready just in time.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, go ahead, Nick.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to say, like, even with TFT, we even see it in these long sessions of streaming where like a player is just playing, and you can even see like in the tracker that's in the top left-hand corner where it just clicked, right? And like they're like bot 4 like 6 games in a row, then all of a sudden it's like 1-1-1 2-3-1-1. Well, obviously they learned something in a very short period of time that allowed them to perform better. So I think that like what you're saying, Wasian, makes complete sense to me. I mean, 2 days in TFT is a long time for the meta to change and for player skill to vary. So I think a week is very fair to say that there's going to be a certain level of variance. Sorry, go ahead, Abby's.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think for as far as like the way to, sorry, someone's zooming outside. You think it looks to a highway, but it's really just like a city road. So I think as far as like looking for very accurate representations of players at any given time, yeah, I think you can look at the don't talk if you don't know power rankings, but generally I think there's 3 people to look at, and it's Dan's list, Frodan's list, Esports Law Bryce's list, and Gangly's list. I think those 3 lists are the only 3 people that I expect to actually keep up to date with what's, because the thing is, like, a lot of people don't actually, that are on the power ranking, like that send in a ballot, don't actually go and watch 20 different people playing every single day or anything like that. And it does change so much every day that I think those are the 3 ballots to look at if you're ever looking to get like a really good picture of like up to date picture of where people are at any given point in time.
I appreciate that. I don't know if I would say my ballot is like the best representation of like up to date play. I think I give a different perspective than other players because I tend to, look more at the data, which, and this actually leads to what I was about to say, is that one of the cool things about Don't Talk If You Don't Know is it allows us to give a nod to players that we see on the up and up. And one of the players that we saw early on in the set in the data performing well, and it really came to fruition this past weekend, was Rereplay. And if I'm going to pat myself on the back, I do want to just say I was the first person to come out and say, you got to look at this guy. I might have said this on the last podcast. Someone did tell me that I was trolling for putting Rereplay over another player in one of my ballots. And you know what? Here we are today. So,
I didn't let you down this time. I didn't let you down.
That's right. Yeah, I believed in you, man. And you know what? Even mid-set finale, when you did get day one, if I remember correctly, didn't you tie with Malala for that JukeYou spot?
Yeah.
The legendary
think-
JukeYou spot.
Yeah. I averaged like a 4.5 in Malala too, I think. So
That's
I think
right.
it's rough.
Unlucky. Literally, you would have been final day. You would have had the JukeYou buff. Okay, you know what?
TFT is a skill-based game.
No, it's just about which buff you get.
Facts.
So we've talked a little bit about kind of setting the stage for regionals. So let's kind of go through, and I hope we don't take up the entire podcast just doing this, but if ever anyone wants to kind of go around real quick and talk about your experience this weekend, you don't need to go through game by game, like by any means, but Wasian, obviously this was not the weekend you were looking for. You're still competing at Worlds, and it's not like you bombed out. Like, you were very close to that cutoff at day one, unfortunately got eliminated then, but you want to talk a little bit about that first day?
Oh yeah, sure. So like honestly, like I felt like I got pretty unlucky this weekend. Like it felt like my games were very low roll, and also it felt like the game was like mentally testing me a lot of the time, because like the one game where I actually had like an insane opener, like that game actually ended up being like a remake, and like that was before like the day got shut off. Like a lot of, and like there's some other like really crazy stuff that happened. Like
Wait,
for example,
were
like,
all three
random,
of us in that remake or no? I think I was in the remake.
I think maybe more than one lobby remade. I'm not sure.
Oh, really?
Oh, I think
Maybe it was only one.
at least for my game, like it just didn't load in during that time. Yeah.
I don't know. It was like pretty tilting experience though. Also like some random stuff like loaded dice carousel, like missing all my dice. Like it's like a lot of like Mort Dog kind of moments. But
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I actually prepared like so much for regionals. Actually, I would say like this is the tournament that I prepared for the most out of any tournament. So I was like pretty disappointed with how it ended up, but I also felt like it was like a lot of it was out of my control.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. It's really important to, and I think like being able to have a like a good attitude about it too, like you do, is really important, because at the end of the day, like stuff that will happen in TFT, and if you can keep a good mental, then like that's how you be consistent. So
Let's work our way up and talk with Rereplay. I want to hear a little bit about your weekend.
Yeah, for mine, like I think like the first day, like the first 4 games, I was like outside looking in of like the cutoff. And then it was kind of stressful because I was like, there's no way I'm getting day 1 here. But then the next day came a little wrong, and like it's just like a streak of lucky games, like high rolling. And then I feel like from that point onwards, like my average went from like a 6 to like a 3 point something in the course of like 2 days. So I feel like a lot of TFT is like you prep as much as you can. And sometimes like one day, like you just don't roll well and it doesn't feel good, but other days you roll really well. And because you prep well, like you can take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of bouncing off of what Wasian said too, where he's talking about like the tournament itself can sometimes be this mental test, right? And it's like if you can make it through those moments of low roll, and if you can make it through those moments of like despair, then there is always something on the other side. It's just really a matter of time, and if you can hold on and salvage enough points to advance long enough to that you can kind of receive that same high roll. So it's cool that you were able to kind of, make it through day 1 and then receive the blessings of Mort Dog on day 2. Now, JukeYou, obviously the winner of regionals, and I think fair to say a name that nobody expected to win the event. But even like, I'll let you go, but I do just want to say real quick that like high roll aside, you don't average a 2.8, I think it was, right? Like a 2.87 by accident, or you don't average 2.8 over 18 games just on high roll. Like, I'm really curious from your perspective on what you feel enabled you to succeed this weekend.
Yeah, so I think the linchpin that starts it all is having a good first game, mentally for me. I think I'm a little bit like a results-based confidence. If my first game goes well, then I have confidence, and then like going into future games, if you have confidence and you low roll, you can kind of not take it personally, and you don't think it's your fault. You can kind of really take it as it is, and you can see the next out. And it's not even from game to game. I always say like the way to play TFT, if you're going to say it's not luck based, is to preserve enough HP until the high roll happens for you, right? Maybe your stage 2 board isn't good, but you save 20 HP extra compared to open forting. You can survive an extra 2 turns, and maybe in those 2 turns you hit your 2-star carry, and you like your matchmaking is good, and you can take it to a top 4 versus just like tilting and going 8th or something like that. So definitely for me, the linchpin was getting that really honestly easy. I know some people thought it was a cool line, but I think it was really standard. Like, what was it? It was Tiny Titans, Underground Start, Blue Buff. I got my perfect item on Carousel because nobody wanted a tier and a sword, so I got my Blue Buff Gunblade on the spot. Like, everything went well for me that game. I got Axiom Mark 3 too. Like, it was really easy to play out, and then after that, I just had the confidence to like play my other games, which went well, obviously. But even I think that there's going to be some games that could have not gone well, but because I had the right mental for it, I like was able to either turn it to a top 3 or top 4 or maybe 5th. I think there was one specific game in the middle of day 2. It was just like a Spirit of Exile's threat game, and it was a 5th. It was good. It's good enough, I guess. So, yeah, that's kind of what I have to say.
For anyone who's listening and didn't get a chance to watch the game that JukeYou's talking about, just to give you a quick recap, really what happened was, and JukeYou, step in at any time if you feel like I'm misrepresenting, but from what I saw, JukeYou had this Tiny Titans Underground Start and essentially held his gold through stage 3 until his cash out, and he stayed level 5. And at this cash out, based on the items and the fact that he hit Axiom Mark, he transitioned his whole board into Lulu reroll. And so he had been
Yeah, so the decision was made on Hero Augment because like you get a little bit trolled by Hero Augment sometimes. Like you play Underground, you're hoping for Underground Hero Augment at 3-2. You don't always get it. Like, is that still a good angle for Ezreal? Personally, I don't think so. I know some people would think it's still a fine angle, but I was like, there's no way that I'm going to let myself like fall victim to the variance of when Hero Augment falls. So I was like, okay, well, I'll hold these Lulus. And if I don't hit, then I'll just pivot Lulu, and it worked out. And also, I think Lulu is a higher cap anyway. So from the beginning, it was a Lulu angle, but because of tailoring, if it was a Hero Augment, then I'm forced to play Ezreal. That's what it really was.
Makes sense. You know, I think obviously at a high level, maybe it's more standard, but for a lot of people, I think being able to see that game plan in action is a really cool thing to see. And I think on the viewership side, it was really awesome to just jump to a board where you're sitting on 80 gold, hit the cash out, sell everything, make the transition. And even if mentally you're kind of preparing, I think it's one of those things where it feels really flashy and really cool to watch, as a viewer.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of getting a high average placement in the end is having like your game plan figured out. Like you're ready for what the game throws at you. Yeah.
All right, now, before we move on, one thing I do want to do is explain how this show actually works. Oh, and I don't actually have Nightbot on, so after I ask a question, I'll go ahead and turn that on. But this is a live call-in show, and if you're in my Discord, all you have to do is go on the left-hand side and go into the Submit Takes topic channel. Put your takes, your questions, your discussion points, anything you really want to bring on the show. Maybe you saw something really cool this weekend, you want to bring it up. Put your take in that channel, and then go into the waiting room and mute yourself. Don't deafen, because we need to be able to talk to you when you get on the show, but mute yourself. And then if we like your take, we'll bring you on the show, and you can talk to the 3 wonderful guests that we have on there. So after I ask a question, I'll go ahead and fix the command so that you guys can get the Discord link. Actually, Appies, would you be able to just like put the Discord link in chat? Are you able to do that?
Yeah, for sure. Give me 2 seconds.
Cool. In the meantime, one thing I did, I asked the 3 guests to prepare something for today, which was I wanted everyone on the show to be able to bring us, obviously because we have the World Championship going on, everyone's going to be looking at our representatives. And I really want people to be proud of who we're sending to Worlds. So something I asked all 3 players to prepare is give us an example of one moment in this set, it could be from regionals or it could be from mid-set or whatever, that you feel exemplifies why you're going to the World Championship? So, Wasian, do you want to start it off?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start off. I'll talk about like a game I played, like a final lobby mid-set, which is basically like it wasn't actually a first, it was a second, but yeah. So basically, I was angling like reroll like very very heavily, and then there's like no hero augment 3-2. But like kind of what I ended up doing was like I knew my spot was bad, so I was kind of just like play strongest board, like rolled down for like Camille anyways. And basically, I used like some sort of like hacker Camille to like get to like level 8, and I pivoted into some like weird like 4 duelist Zed board. And at the time, like Zed was like very unpopular, and also like anyone who was playing Zed was like playing 6 duelist Zed. So I feel like playing like that, like 4 duelist Zed was like pretty creative, and probably not a line like a lot of people would have seen.
I saw that, and I thought that was intentional. I thought I was like, oh, he's using Camille as an item holder for Zed. This is so cool. But I guess it was just on the fly.
I mean, yeah, like I really wanted to play Camille reroll because I think it was like really strong at mid set, like if I remember correctly, like especially the hero augment. But yeah, like once I missed and I kind of missed on my roll down, like I feel like yeah, like on the fly, just like pivoted into and like did what I had to do, and like I feel like most people would expect that game to be a bot 4, but I think it was like a really good second. So
some of that new age flexibility.
There was a moment on Don't Talk If You Don't Know where D-Pay was gassing up Wasian, and one of the things he mentioned was that he feels like Wasian thinks so quickly and always makes the right decision on the fly. He was really praising your flexibility and your quick thinking, and I think that's such a fun skill to see in TFT. We see that with like, I think Appies is one of the more like public figures of previous sets who kind of brought that up, where it's like, well, if your game plan fails, why don't you just problem solve instead of, you know, thinking your game is over, right? And I think that idea of problem solving is so fun to watch. JukeYou, what about you?
First FF, that too.
Yeah, FF. So I was actually going to still go with that Lulu game. I think it's the most relatable. I think the whole story about this set is how do you play around hero augments, just like Wasian just said. You have a 3-2 hero augment. If you hit, great. If you don't, like, what if it was 3-3-4? Like, you still don't have adaptive defenses. You need to have a game plan. So I think the Lulu game was an example of just having a game plan for specifically hero augments, but I think for everything. Like, what if you roll and hit? The Hacker Warrior game was actually another one where technically it was a line that I set up. I was going into the tournament playing AD Flex, right? I was bow star. I think the tournament more or less had people who were tier star and AP Flex and people who were bow star and AD Flex. So I was bow star AD Flex, and I thought, okay, what if I have a Camille or a Pike augment and I'm trying to hit Jhin, but I hit Warwick instead. It's like, do I play Hacker Warwick? And I kind of had that plan on Wednesday, I think, and I never practiced it. I kind of wrote down, I should try to practice this and see if it actually works. But then the line came on the final day of regionals, and I actually took it, and it worked out just fine.
I have to ask real quick. So is this on the spreadsheet? Because I know it
is on the spreadsheet. I went into after the game. I went to highlight where I wrote it on the spreadsheet to say it was premeditated.
Do you mind if I ask, like? Oh, yeah, sorry. I was saying, like what gave you the idea to make like a spreadsheet, and how effective has that been?
The spreadsheet was really, I kind of forgot how to roll for Temple. I realized like I was playing really poorly going to Mech Cup because the other Soli TFT and I were prepping together, and it was third day of Mech Cup was right after the patch, and right after the patch everyone was playing Kai'Sa, and Lulu was really good into Kai'Sa because you have this like mega declaw like Pantheon tank. So we were playing a lot of Lulu, and then everyone started playing Mech, and Lulu is really bad into Mech. So we both bombed out pretty quickly. I mean, I managed to make day 4 just barely, but my mental was already like screwed because our prep went to shit. Forgive my language, but I kind of had forgotten how to play the game. So I was like, oh, you know something, I need to like relearn how to roll at 6 and roll at 7. So I went through every comment, said, what do I need to roll for at 6 and 7? And that's how the spreadsheet was born. And I think that was the burst of inspiration that made me like suddenly a better player for the regionals.
A legendary spreadsheet. You should sell this spreadsheet to noobs to climb.
No, so many. So I streamed like for the first time like for a non-tournament and non-double bladed thing yesterday, and Frodan rated me, so I had like 400 people in my chat, and people are just like, "Oh, can you share the spreadsheet link?" And I'm like, I don't believe in spreadsheet gaming, so no, I am not going to give you the spreadsheet.
Nice. All right, let's move on to replay, and you've been waiting there. I definitely want to hear from you. So, what's your moment?
Yeah, I think my moment was day 3 of regionals on the second game. I was like high rolling early game playing Spellslingers, and then I went for like a 4-5 roll down, rolled like 50 gold, missed, hit like 0 TFs. I was like, my spot went from a first to I'm playing for top 4. I think near like end of stage 5 or so, it ended up being like me, JukeYou, and Setsuko, all like 2 lives, 30 HP, or like probably like 20 HP or so. And I look at everyone's spots, like JukeYou is like level 9 playing mech, Setsuko is level 9, I think it was playing Jin. And I'm just here with my TF2 level 8, like super bad, like it's just like a 4-5, like end of 4-5 like Spellslinger board. I'm like, honestly, a third here is pretty good, but like I managed to like outposition Setsuko in one fight where his pike went the wrong side. I zephyred his Jin, and then the next 2 fights, JukeYou was playing like a freaking mech with hook, and it's like kind of obnoxious to a position around a hook when you're playing Locket to Oxforce, because like you don't want to put your frontliners in the backline. So then I like pulled out like this positioning where like I shifted my front line to the right, so I can only pull like 1 backliner to like back left. So yeah, that way I can only I can still like keep locker value for most of my frontliners. Only I have to take 1 back. And I also had Zephyr, and I have Zephyr left side, which kind of makes it so if he puts his mech right side.
Oh god, I remember this game.
Yeah,
oh no.
If you put your mech right side, like you're not going to stun my TF and my Nico. But if you put your mech left side in front of my TF and Nico, you're probably getting Zephyred because you don't have like 2 frontliners or whatnot. And
I thought you so I thought you read where my mech was going to be by where I put my front line. Where I put my back line, because I shifted my back line right, and so I moved my mech right and behind, and you predicted that, and you still won the 50-50, whatever. I wasn't prepared for it. I was, yeah, whatever. You Zephyr my mech and you won the game. That's it.
yeah.
That was actually the moment that I was hoping you would bring up replay. That was the one that stood out to me. I normally don't get to watch regionals when it's happening. This time I actually got to watch it. At least I watch most of these live and the rest on Monday morning. And those 2 fights in particular, I think were such an amazing example of like this more like macro and micro play of like understanding how the units work, what gives you the option coverage, and then actually being able to pull it off to get 2 really key Zephyrs that allowed you to stay alive and lock in like that. Was it second, or what, did you end up third?
Oh, I ended up first because I beat
won that
2 straight fights. Yeah. It was like a kind of unjust first though, because like I'm pretty sure from that spot, like everyone's going third. Like I thought I kind of resigned to a 3rd place that game, but I was like, I have a Zephyr, like I might as well like try to cook something up here that would win the fight. And like I think what was actually good about the positioning was like, even if your mech doesn't get Zephyred, I feel like I probably have the highest chance of win the fight because the mech is probably positioned like incorrectly, I guess. Like even like when you second line the mech, even if you don't get Zephyr, like you kind of run into problems where like you're not starting the TF, which is like another big factor in the fight.
Yeah, I'm just hacking the mech value early enough in the fight anyway. So
I think
yeah.
I think it's a really cool example of. I think a lot of people have this misconception of positioning is like good positioning being I like moved last second and avoided the Zephyr. I'm like moved last second and avoided getting jumped by assassins or whatever, right? Like they associate good positioning with like this last second, like quote unquote outplay, but it's kind of like you're like you move last second and then like you get the right matchup and don't get you play the sin was on the wrong side kind of thing. But good positioning is really just like finding the best way to not have a bad situation no matter what, right? It's like finding the thing that beats everything. That's good positioning, which is not like a lot of like last second micro. It's just like this kind of macro understanding of like where things need to be to make a fight go well.
I want to hear a little bit about that moment in the tournament. And Wasian, obviously this for you happened at mid-set, so maybe there's a different way we can kind of frame this question. But for Rereplay and JukeYou, tell me about that moment where you realized this was locked in. You're going to Worlds.
For me personally, like I don't really trust like the spread shot they have out there because like sometimes they don't divide the numbers correctly, sometimes they don't like add the numbers correctly. I'm just like like basically like every game, even leading up to the last game, where I like did the math. I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm guaranteed. But like in my head, I was like, I don't know. Like maybe they added a point somewhere. I don't deserve a point, and they're gonna take it away. So I was like, I was stressed the whole time. To be honest.
Wait, I still don't know why Roby got his point taken that during LC. Was it LCQ? Yeah, it was LCQ. Like I have no idea what happened there.
For asking in Discord, right?
Yeah,
I still don't know.
He got like a max bat of Tome while playing like Gnar, and he asked in Discord, like we have like a big Discord with like a bunch of players and stuff. He basically just asked like, "Oh, am I supposed to mech my Gnar in this spot?" And like no one even answered him, but like obviously like asking for like assistance was like,
what the heck?
It's that coaching.
So,
What the heck?
It's a coaching. Yeah.
All right.
I'll do it. Yeah.
There also, just to follow up on that, I actually messaged. I was told by chat that Rereplay was locked in. Because I was like, oh, is Rereplay in World? And everyone in chat's like, yeah, he's in World. And so I message him and I'm like, hey man, congrats on making World. It's going into Game 6, by the way. The tournament's not over. And I'm like, hey man, congrats on making Worlds. You want to come to High Roll Radio? Like we're having all the Worlds reps on, blah blah blah. And then Yenwei from Giant Slayer messages me and is like, hey, just so you know, Rereplay is not locked in. And so, if that 1% scenario Doomsday happens and Replay does not make Worlds and I'm just there messaging him showing up on High Roll Radio, oh god. Thankfully we dodged disaster.
I'm pretty sure I was actually locked in. Like there was like a chance like if Molly goes first, I go 8th, we have like the same average placement or something. But like I thought like because I had more first or something, like I win tiebreakers. But like yeah, like I just didn't want like that's kind of close. If I get 1 point taken off for some reason, I'm done. So
yeah, I was surprised you actually responded to me. You were like, "Oh wait, am I locked?" And I'm like, "Wait, are you not locked?" Yeah, go for it, JukeYou. Let's hear from you.
So I was locked after game 4. They didn't announce anything until game 5, but sort of in my group, we figured that the only way I lose average placement after game 4 was if Setsuko goes 1-1 and I go 8-8. And then if that happens, no one could have scored enough points to overtake I forget the exact number, but like to overtake Rereplay, who would be the next threat for average placement. Right? So I was locked in after game 4. So I was like, oh, that's cool. And then they finally announced it after game 5 because then I was super locked. And I was like, great. This is like, I was like going around my house like yelling, like, I did it! And then I would come back to play my game. And then obviously the final game, I was like blessed by more dog and everything just landed in my lap and I was able to sort of close it out. So I didn't really have. I remember watching the EMEA finals on Monday, and like all of the people were like super emotional. Like they start crying when they made it, and I'm like, oh, I didn't do that. I'm sorry.
I mean, jumping around your house and like yelling is a pretty awesome response. It's the kind of thing where like, man, I know obviously it changes things, but like it would be so fun to be able to see this kind of stuff in person, right? To like see someone pop off from their computer. We need more TFT.
Yeah,
DC4.
DC4, and for anyone who didn't know, I thought Bosso Skills was the only tri-state competitor competing at regionals, and it turns out we had one more in the field. It was JukeYou. JukeYou now officially, unofficially, tri-state's best player. Get out of the way, Bosso.
For now.
Hey, you know what? And I do want to actually just really quick give a shout out to Bosso Skills, who had a great weekend. Just barely missed out. Final lobby, had a really good showing. And I want to say the only reason Bosso didn't make it is because he got griefed so hard by Kindle Gem in one of the games. I don't know if you guys saw it, but basically Bosso and Sox were very clearly like forcing or like had a spot that was just very clearly angling Warwick. So it's two-way contested going into stage 3. On stage 3, there is a Warwick on carousel. Kindle Gem, who's playing super open at the time, takes the Warwick from Sox to grief him, and then is like, you know what? I'm gonna play Warwick. So he opts into 3-way contesting Warwick, and then he hits Warwick, Sox hits Warwick, and Bosso does not ever hit Warwick 2 and goes 8th. It was so unfortunate. So you know what? Yeah, shout out to Bosso. Wasian. So let's talk about this moment for you, because I think one way we can kind of frame it, unless you have a specific thought, is that going into this weekend, you are competing against the field. But coming out of it, you now have 3 teammates who, in a way, you've kind of been waiting for the last couple months, right? Well, I'm curious to know kind of your perspective, what that feels like to now kind of have, obviously, I'm sure you have your traditional study group that you've been prepping with, but now you kind of 3 other players who you may or may not have been working with up to this point in time. Do you kind of feel more inclined to work with the other North American reps going into Worlds?
Yeah, I mean, I like, out of the Worlds reps that qualified, I guess Rereplay was really the one that I actually like talked to before, because we like played in a lot of scrims together, like leading up to regionals. Yeah, in terms of like, you know, like talking and studying and prepping with other Worlds reps, like I'm usually not someone who takes like a big initiative in those kinds of things. Like I'll be like, oh, if someone asks me to prep with them, I'm like, oh yeah, sure, of course, I'm down to like water review, but never really organized these things before. So I'd kind of just say it depends on whether other people are like taking that initiative and like trying to organize stuff. But I mean, I'm definitely down to like prep with other people.
We're like a dating show now.
Oh, seriously.
Getting the world's reps together so they can all study.
Obviously, Setsuko's not here. I think we should give him a little bit of attention too, because it's really only fair that Setsuko, I think, who many considered one of the 2 favorites, and you could even argue was actually the favorite over Setsuko in the sense of him having the best average placement across the entire set, tying Robin Song for the best individual performance in a single set in TFT history. Like, Setsuko popped off this set and rounded it out with a qualification for Worlds. I don't think we can stress enough how impressive Setsuko's run this set has been, and he deserves all the credit. And I think so many people, obviously everyone in the final lobby deserved a spot at Worlds and had a real shot at it, but Setsuko qualifying for Worlds, I think, was such a poetic ending to the tournament, and feels really good as a North American to see him finding success. I don't know how you all feel about that.
I definitely agree.
Super well deserved.
I definitely learned a lot from Setsuko. I'm obviously watch his stream, but he plays these kind of lines that other people don't believe in, but he believes in. Like, he'll play a lot of jacks. And, like, it's funny to play jacks, but he actually makes it work every so often. He played. Yeah, he plays. Huh?
Sorry. Makes it work every so often, not all the time. Sorry, go on.
Oh, not that. I mean, if he can get first with it like 2 times and then goes fourth. Oh, like blurred. And then goes like 8th with it like 4 times. That's like more than me. I would go 8th with it like 6 times instead. So he has that, and then he like played Mech Belveth after he got nerfed and no one was really playing it, but he still believed in it. So it was like, he, for me, was like a type of player who really has confidence in what he knows is good and plays it. And I still was set by VOD reviewing him, and that helped me for this tournament for sure. So I'm like super glad he's playing, because you know, for variance, if you want to make sure you're in the top quarter, you need to play uncontested, and he's really good at that.
Going back to what we were talking about before, with this idea of going into the event, you're competing against each other, and then coming out of it, your teammates. I guess I'm just curious if anyone of the World's reps like kind of feels that level of camaraderie. I don't know. Like, I feel like as a spectator, I feel that, where it's like, I had favorites going into this event where it's like, I really want, I'm not going to like say who I'm rooting for. One of them's here.
Robin Songs.
All right, I guess everyone kind of knows. But you know, like there are players where it's like, I want these players to do well, but coming out of it, it's like, no, I'm rooting for North America, and these are the representatives that earned it. So this is like our package now of Setsuko, Wasian, JukeYou, and Rereplay. You are now representing North America collectively. Like, I don't know, like there's a certain weight to that, and I'm curious to know if you guys feel that too.
To me, like, I don't actually feel like that much regional pride. So I don't know.
He's
Like,
Canadian.
Boo!
maybe it's because I'm Canadian. But yeah, like I don't know, beating EMEA, beating like China, like I don't really care that much. I just want to like do the best that I can do.
Yeah, that's fair. I think regional prizing that I think like as a spectator, and particularly when a lot of like viewers from TFT, I'm sure it comes from league originally and stuff like that. I think there's like as a viewer, there's this sense of a regional pride, like, oh man, we're gonna like NA is the best, EU teeth, etc. in chat, right? But when you're up there, I imagine like you just want to win for you, right? Like you don't really care about North America or about, and I think that's fine, right? I think that's like I think that's kind of expected, to be honest, because at the end of the day, it's a single player game. It's like you're on a one man team, I guess, right? And it's PV multiplayer, but yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think it's very reasonable to just want to play for yourself.
Replay. Did you have any thoughts on that? If not, we can move on.
Like I kind of like, I think first and foremost, I kind of agree. Like I want my own performance to do well. Like if I was to choose between like someone from NA or someone from not NA winning Worlds or like doing well in Worlds, like it's I kind of want NA to do well. I've kind of heard, I didn't play the past few sets, but I've heard like China's winning every single Worlds. That doesn't feel too great.
Yeah.
No, I'm a big NA stan. I think
I remember, baby.
Yeah, I remember watching set 4 World, and that's a set that China won for the first time, and I was like, they're not even good, but they won. So it feels so like unjustified for me. Like I thought NA was the best for a long time, with the exception of 61. That guy was cracked. He deserved to win that for sure. But I felt like set 4 could like any region could have won, and I felt like it should have been us. Set 5. Okay, to be fair, the China started pulling ahead, but I think like we were sort of right behind them, just trying to keep up. So I personally, and also because of watching a lot of League of Legends and always having that regional pride thing for League of Legends and never quite making it in League of Legends, I want TFT to be the game that North America is good at. So I have a lot of regional pride. And I think it's better for me mentally as well, because if I don't put too much pressure on myself to perform specifically, then I can like just go out there, whatever I get is what I get, but play my best and don't worry too much about it.
That's got to be like a hell of a lot of motivation too, right? Because you're like, oh man, I'm going to be the guy who like wins Worlds for NA for the like you will be Mr. NA, you know. So
Like that almost puts like more pressure on you, right? Like I'm winning for NA and not just like for one person. It's kind of scary.
Like person to person, right? Whether that alleviates it or it becomes more motivation.
I want to. Oh, go for it.
I was gonna say I'm old. I think I've already achieved enough. I'm like 29. Like I wasn't expecting to do this well. I think
go late 20s.
Yeah, baby. So I think I tell myself that I should be happy winning regionals, and whatever happens at Worlds happens at Worlds, right?
I think that is a very fair outlook for all of you. All 4 of you have accomplished incredible things this set. No matter what happens at Worlds, you should be proud of yourself, because we are. One last question before we move into calls, and I appreciate all the patience from those who do have takes, because I know there actually are a handful of people who have things they want to talk about.
Go.
So the last thing, and I want to pose this to Appies first. Do you think this is the strongest group of players we're ever sending to Worlds? We've ever sent to Worlds?
I think NA is just getting stronger and stronger. I have no doubt that everyone's going to Worlds this set. Like right now is better at TFT than anyone who ever went to Worlds in NA before. Because I feel we're just getting so much better every single set. So yeah, I would say it's our strongest lineup.
But like relative to the rest of the
I mean, I couldn't tell you. I believe in them. I believe in you three and sets go a lot. So I think it'll go well at the very least. I think you guys are very strong.
How do you guys feel? I know, like, Rereplay, you were kind of out of the game, so you weren't following super closely the last couple sets, but I'm curious to know from the 3 of you how you feel.
I always thought NA was good, so I think it's the same as always. We just need to perform on the day of.
Yeah, I would say it's like hard for me to say because I didn't really watch like too many Worlds before. I think I watched like set 7 Worlds and that was like about it. And like was at like 3 a.m., so I wasn't even like watching it live as well. I was like kind of like watching it back. So yeah, it's just hard for me to say because I haven't seen enough Worlds.
I'm actually curious. Wait, does anyone know? Wait, Appies, are you a mod? Does anyone, I want to like put a poll in chat. I don't know how to do that. Is anyone able? I'm like about to just mod the first person who says that they'll make a poll.
Here, wait, mod me. I'll make it.
How do I mod you? Oh, you are mod.
Like, or do you /mod spicy appies?
Oh, God. Podcast listeners, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I will say, I think in my opinion, probably the strongest lineup I think we've had before this one, at least. Going to Worlds is probably, I think set 4. I think Ramkev was just like, he was like the best player
and
we've ever seen. Yeah, I think Kevin in the form he was in that set was the best form we ever had a player go to Worlds in. With maybe like Milk, One Trick, and Kled being like the next best.
That was so hype. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I actually think 4, 5, and this set are the 3 strongest. Because 4 being Sox, Ramkev, Kurum, and DQA. 5
Didn't
being
Sox One Trick Master Yi that set? Or was that set 3?
That was set 3.
Set 3.
He one tricked.
Okay.
We had DQA, we had Sox,
Kurum, and Ramkev.
Yeah, that was a good lineup.
Yeah, and then set
2-minute poll. Here we go.
And then set 5 we had Robin, Milk, and Spencer, which I also thought was like, it felt handpicked. Like that lineup felt like crazy stacked. But I feel like if you broke down who we're sending to Worlds right now, it feels like 3 of the 4 players that people would handpick to go to Worlds. I think like Wasian, Rereplay, and Setsuko, many people would have just sent if we could send people. And then JukeYou, who's coming off the most dominant tournament performance we've ever seen. Like maybe, I don't know if we've ever seen someone average a 2.8. I feel like maybe Kyvik's last set was something similar.
I was told that we tied in average placement. Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, it's like we're sending 3 out of 4 handpicked people, plus someone who has shown such a crazy level of dominance on this patch. And whether you say that's high roll or not, what that tells me is that if JukeYou hits the rolls to enable him to play, he's going to compete with the best. So to me, it feels like this is a really insane lineup. And I'm excited to see you all in the World Championship.
Drive down to New Jersey for the watch party.
I am thinking about it. I would love
Sunday night football.
That's right. No, we all just go to JukeYou's house. We watch in person.
One couch for everybody. It's a very small couch.
All right.
One quick thing is like no flame to myself. I don't know if people would handpick me to go to Worlds, to be honest.
I think if they look at stats,
Besides
then they would. Yeah, because Gangly's like the stats guy. Like he knows on paper how good everyone is, where like other players try to feel it out more.
I think my stats over the split are quite good, but like I feel like
that's all that matters.
That's true.
That's how I was rated. Facts. They weren't good.
Well, I mean,
I was trolling.
To be fair, a lot of people, and then they would probably handpick like Skara, Box, and like I don't know, you know.
KP so true, obviously.
So.
All right, let's go ahead and bring in our first caller. But wait, actually, before we bring in callers, we have a very special part of the show. Because for anyone who didn't see this, we now have a new portion of the show called the High Roll Radio Mailbag. Yeah, and I'm not singing it yet, but we're going to have a jingle at some point, I promise. And so we actually invited people to call in with their takes. Leave us a message on anchor.fm/highrollradio, and you can leave us your takes in case you can't watch live. And we got one question from Miss Kana, one of the most beloved TFT community members who isn't able to watch live. Everybody's mom. And so I'm going to play her message live on the show. Hopefully you guys can hear this.
Hello, this is Kana with a question from my fellow Wasian who is currently attending my alma mater. Who do you think is the next Canadian who will qualify for TFT Worlds?
All right. Hopefully you guys could hear that. And if you could not, the question is for Wasian, who is the next Canadian to make Worlds? And why?
So my head is telling me that like it's going to be, Goobums is going to be back at Worlds or maybe Clear is going to make it to Worlds. But what my heart is telling me is that Showtime is going to make it to Worlds. Let 9 go.
Now I know
set 9 is his set, yeah.
You said before like you don't really have a certain sense of community of like regional pride. But do you feel that way with like Canada versus the US?
Well, the reason that like I would feel that way about Canada is because like I don't know, I feel like I'm actually like close friends with like a lot of the Canadian TFT players, and like we've even like like met up before a few times. So like just from actually being friends with them, maybe I feel like some sense of that, but not because we're Canadian, just because we're friends. I would say.
Yeah, totally fair. All right. With that said, let's start bringing on some callers. All right. Lawrence is here. Lawrence, where are you calling from?
Hello. I'm calling from Oregon.
All right. And what do you want to talk about?
All right. So this is mostly for Wasian, but it's still a broad question to even potentially some of the people in chat that were participating in all of these tournaments throughout the set, including set 8. How does it feel with a world spot being given to the mid-set winner instead of all of the spots being given to somebody at the 0.5 finale?
Also, real quick, it does seem like I'm getting an echo from Rereplay. Just a heads up. I don't know how bad that is, but I'm hearing it a little bit on my end. So I don't know if maybe that's a Discord thing, but we'll figure it out. But Wasian, you heard the question?
Yeah, sure. I mean, personally, of course, that I'm going to be slightly biased towards saying it's a good thing, but I think it's actually something that was decided upon like by like almost like a poll of like a lot of top players. And basically everyone just felt that like having that world spot up for stake would make mid-set like a lot more interesting and like a lot more hype, like garner a lot more interest. Whereas like if it's just for money, I feel like that could be like pretty uninteresting to some people. So yeah, I feel like it just makes mid-set a lot more like hype to watch, and just a lot more like the players are a lot more invested in it as well.
Yeah, super good change both as a player and as a viewer. I think it's a lot more.
I think it's. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say like, it's a little bit of a lesser of two evils kind of thing. Like, yeah, it's not great, but we do have 0.5 sets still, so you don't want it to be pointless. So I mean, in a couple of sets, we'll just have one world, I guess. I don't know. So, I mean, one set per set, if that makes sense. So it won't be a problem anymore if you think there's a problem with it now.
Replay. I don't know if you have any different thoughts on it.
No, I have nothing besides to echo. It kind of makes mid-set like worth playing for way more, because like if there was like at the very least like you need qualifier points, but I think those are only interesting to the players. So I feel like for like the viewers, it makes way more sense.
Yeah, I probably would have just not even competed. I would have just went on my cruise and I'm like, you know what? There's nothing on the line. You guys just have fun.
Yeah, that's I mean, the reason I kind of asked the question is I'm a big formatting like nerd when it comes to these sorts of things, and it's like what I looked at it as is if I'm structuring this, I'm trying to make NA as a region better, and by not just for this world. If we're trying to win this world, perhaps we should send somebody from entirely the 8.5 finale, but by having a spot in the 8.0, we're making it where players are having to really care at all points in time, and so theoretically there should be players really trying throughout the entire set. So that's why I actually personally really agree with it and think it's great. I think it's really cool to have players care that much. So I was really curious to how you all had felt about that.
Yeah, I think one thing that it makes me think about is the fact that we're going to be having these like single sets and getting rid of 0.5s. It obviously, like JukeYou was saying before, it's almost like we're kind of holding out until that changes. But until then, it does kind of feel like I don't know if necessary evil is like going too far, but even like we've seen it before where like playing the 0.5 for basically nothing, right? Just like doesn't feel good at all. And I feel like we've always kind of seen this imbalance of like one of the 0.5s has more than the other. Like if I remember correctly, set 5, it was like every tournament that mattered was in set 5, and then 5.5 didn't even have any tournaments, I think, right? It was something like that. So I think like that mismatch has always felt really weird. And even though it may not feel perfect, personally, I mean, I'm also in agreement that like it makes sense for where we're at right now.
I want to add that I don't think it matters how well you perform specifically at regionals. Like, for instance, Mecha Cup was only like 2 weeks before regionals, we could just take the winners of Mecha Cup and throw them directly into Worlds if we wanted to. It's like a 2-week cadence. Someone could be good in one patch and worse in the next patch. They could just have a better mental the next like tournament. It's like not really a objective like this is the best person we could possibly send. You don't know until
yeah, like being good at regionals is no better indicator of how we'll do at Worlds than being good at mid set.
Yeah.
Because
like Contail almost made final lobby and he basically had not played since Defender Cup. Like he does not play the game. So yeah. I think he tweeted that himself.
Lawrence, did you have any follow-up or anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I think that mostly took care of it. I relatively predicted how it would feel, but I wanted to kind of hear it from all the players themselves of how that kind of felt actually happening, because I love this sort of stuff. So that's really all I kind of came in with. All
right. Well, anything you want to shout out before you go?
I think what I'll do with my shout out actually is shout out this sort of podcast in general, hosted by yourself and Appies. I have more and more, I myself help a lot and run tournaments for players. I really like being able to showcase people and kind of put a face to the name and make people care about the player coming in. So I think doing something like this, having 3 of our Worlds reps right here, and we're watching and listening to all y'all able to do stuff is really cool. And so I'm really thankful that you're able to put this on.
Hey, well, you know what? If anyone does not already know about who, I feel like most people know who Lawrence is, but if you don't already, Lawrence is the one that runs the Aegis Esports League that does a lot of the amateur events in TFT, really high quality stuff. They put a lot of care and love into it. And so right back at you, Lawrence. And, you know, speaking of content, I saw recently, I did not get a chance to watch it, but you guys started putting out long form interview content as well.
Yeah, we did the Owen, who the F is Owen TFT. We went and put out a full long form of that. We really rode that train. So
yeah. So you know what? I think you and I are mutually aligned in like where we really see value in TFT. And I think that it's really awesome that you're the one putting a lot of effort into it as well. So thank you for the kind words, Lawrence, and we'll catch you next time.
Yep, of course. I'll see you later.
All right, let's just go straight into, I feel like we're kind of on a roll now with callers. Let's just go right into the next one. CLE, another Aegis parallel character, also commentator for TC3. Jack, CLE, I don't know exactly what you go by, but you're here. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from the CLE itself. I'm calling from Cleveland, Ohio.
All right, well, what do you want to talk about?
Well, you know, just after this weekend and watching some EMEA finals, watching the NA regionals as well, I just want to ask you guys, how much have you looked at everyone else that's qualified, and how free is it?
Talk some shit.
Who's starting?
Who qualified? Who?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
I know Jing is back. Jing is back from EU. Canbiz, I believe.
How do you spell Jing again? Is it FREE?
Okay, so I know Jing, Canbiz, and Enzo. Who was its last slot for EMEA?
Hayden, the Swedish player.
Okay. I don't remember seeing anything questionable while watching EMEA finals, personally, but there were some questionable things about some of the other players there. That's what I have to say. So maybe LCQ will be free. Go Roby and go Kindledrum, by the way.
Yeah, we should talk about them after this, actually. A Rereplay Asian, you guys have any thoughts on the other regions?
Yeah, sure. Like, it's kind of hard to talk about like regions other than China, because I mostly watch like China and NA, but in terms of China, like, I don't know. I think they're sending like a pretty decent cast. I think we're pretty lucky. Like, Here We Go. He was like 6th, so he's at LCQ, but he didn't like directly qualify to Worlds. And he was like pretty much considered like by far the best player in the final lobby and like by far the favorite. So I mean, I think it's like kind of a good thing for us that like he didn't make it. In terms of like watching CN regionals, like I saw some like really good plays, but I also saw some like crazy like unfathomable plays. So yeah, I guess China's like kind of unpredictable, kind of hard to tell how it's gonna go.
Dude, I saw Here We Go's numbers. Let me tell you, that guy's got stats. It was like, I think he averaged sub 3 over like I mean, it was a reasonable sample size, and his average was like 2.9 or something insane like that. Like, move out of the way, replay.
Yeah, he was also insane on Super Server, like this set and last set. I think he was like top 10 in like both of them or something.
Replay, did you get a chance to watch any of the other regions?
I follow pretty much nothing of any other region, so I think
You don't have to. You don't have to. It's
yeah,
fine.
I aren't the best players in NA, so I don't really see the point of watching other regions. So.
Facts.
That's what I'm saying, man.
I feel that. Now, and Jack, I'm gonna hijack your take a little bit to kind of transition into LCQ, because I feel like that's something we should talk about, and we haven't really. Because obviously we have Robivan and Kindlegem representing NA, and actually, Jackie, I don't know how much you got to see of them, but if you want to hop into, if anyone doesn't know, Jack or CLE is one of the commentators for Aegis League, and like I said before, also one of the commentators for TC3. So a trusted and knowledgeable figure in the scene who obviously can put your opinion out there. But how do all of you guys feel about Roby and Kindlegem representing NA at LCQ?
Let's go!
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, exactly.
I think it could have been anyone, and I'd be pretty happy, to be honest. I think like NA is just a very good region right now.
I think having Kindlegem is amazing because he's the ultimate griefer. So he's going to guarantee that Roby gets a spot. That's how I see it happening.
Yeah, I think Roby has like the super high cap playstyle where sometimes he's just like, he pops off. Sometimes he picks questionable lines like Wind of the Wanderer, but I know it worked for him during LCQ, but that was a different patch. It is not good. And him taking it that one game was probably his like doom for regionals, but like he's a great player, so I think he'll do well.
I think I think it's worth acknowledging that of the final lobby, I think a lot of people probably, and I hope this doesn't sound worse than I'm intending it to come out, but I think a lot of people really wanted to see Ripple Overdrive and Malala in those LCQ slots. I think that if people could kind of pick who they would have sent out of the LCQ, knowing what happened with the World's reps, Ripple and Malala would have been there. And so I think we're kind of in an interesting spot where just optically and like someone step in if I'm like if it sounds like I'm flaming them, because I'm really not, but like optically I think it does kind of feel like we're not sending the strongest players going into that lobby because we don't really know that much about Kindlegem, and Roby, like JukeYou has pointed out, like does have some very high highs but also some very low lows.
Yeah, like personally, I'm like close friends with Malala, so I really would have liked to see him make LCQ. I think it would have been also really fun to prep for Worlds with him. And like I also know that he's like the caliber of player he is like definitely like good enough. And I think he just slow rolled like really hard on the last day, and like last day is like the most important day. So yeah, kind of unlucky.
I'll do it.
I'll
do it.
I kind of feel the same thing because I was like prepping with DP and Ripple, and both of them were really close, and both of them are really great players, I think. It just feels bad they didn't make it, but like everyone in NA is really good, so it's kind of just luck of the draw at the end.
I will say something that feels good, at least from the outside looking in, is with the final day, it feels like there's a lot to play for with the LCQ spots. Like, even when you have like this massive low roll day, it still feels like reaching, because what LCQ would have been 4th and 5th place or 5th and 6th? It was, how did it work? It was 4th and 5th?
Yeah.
Like that still seems reasonable on a low roll day, right? That like if you're playing really, really well when you're low rolling, like you probably can squeeze out a 5th if you like, play perfectly and make the most out of everything you get. And I think that does feel really good, even though obviously it's not like, there's no guarantee that there's no guarantee against low rolling in TFT, but I like that we're playing for a lot on that final day.
I think that also like kind of takes the pressure off too, because like going into the last day, I was like top 2 sounds kind of hard. But I thought about some more. I was like, if I go 5th, like that's not even that bad. Like I didn't lose yet, I guess. So I was like kind of whatever going into the game. So I was like felt a lot less pressure.
I feel like I'm not personally like I'm not really a big fan of like the LCQ change of making it like 1 slot from 2, because it just feels like it's like so hard to the odds that the best player in LCQ actually goes first is like it's not even that high, right? I feel like.
Oh,
Yeah.
but the best part is I didn't know they made that change. So
Wait.
I
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I didn't know
Oh, you
that.
didn't know that? Yeah.
Wait.
It's only one player from LCQ who makes Worlds, so it just feels like
Oh.
I don't know. It feels like I don't want to say it feels pointless, but it just feels like it's like so hard to make it out of LCQ that it's like
it's like a roll the die.
it's like such a
Roll
big
the die.
difference from comparing to Worlds to having to play
Yeah.
LCQ.
That was going to be one of my follow-up questions as well, with one slot from Eastern, one slot from Western. I feel like these LCQs, although it's not a ton of players, TFT can sometimes be bingo. You can kind of just hit or not hit. And so it's just going to be whoever hits this weekend will get through, not necessarily the best player whatsoever. So it'll be interesting to watch to see how those LCQ players do in Worlds compared to these other players that played with the wider scope.
Yeah, that is a really questionable change. I mean, I'm assuming it just comes down to not having the slots because we have
Yeah,
more
I think they
regions
wanted
now,
to give
right?
like Southeast Asia like more representation, which is why they took away those slots. Which I mean is obviously a really good thing, but it just feels really bad for anyone who's playing LCU. Like feels really bad.
We can't be like, we want more slots. Take it from all of Southeast Asia.
Like, it almost
Sorry,
makes you
Jose
want the
Paolo, you
slots.
can't make World anymore.
And it almost makes you want the slots to be decided by like something that isn't LCQ, right? Like some kind of other source, like maybe like a circuit or like some, I don't know. LCQ feels, I feel like LCQ feels really bad when it's like only the top player gets through.
Yeah.
Like a talent show.
Yeah, like we all just dance and then whoever dances the best gets through. That's exactly what I was saying.
Looking, I'm down.
All right. CLE, I think that's going to do it. Thank you for coming on. Is there anything you want to shout out before you go?
I mean, shout out to all of you guys. I feel the most confident I've ever felt in NA, and I will be just as loud on Twitter. So, I'm rooting for you guys.
Go follow this man. Drop the drop the tag.
All right. Well,
at CLE_TFT, I guess, if you'd like to follow me.
All right. Thanks so much for coming on. We'll catch you later.
See you guys.
All right. We'll move right along. I'm going to be honest, have not been doing a great job of reading everyone's takes, so I'm just pulling people. So I hope that these are...
Well, I'm glad we have so many takes that like there's an option.
Well, there's not that
awesome.
many. I just, I'm talking too much. All right. Demasian Raptor is here. Demasian Raptor, the moderator, I feel like, of everybody. Right?
Legend.
Global
Notorious
mod.
chatter. He's in every single Twitch chat at once.
That's right.
You know what's really funny? Yesterday, I was streaming for the first time, or streaming to a wide audience for the first time, and someone was like, "Wow, this is the first chat where Demasian Raptor isn't in it," and then Demasian Raptor is like, "I am here." it was like 20 people. Froden hadn't made it me yet, and he was just there anyway.
Amazing. All right. Well, Demasian Raptor, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Israel, and I have two questions.
Right.
So for everyone, how does the tournament bubble meta and everyone kind of contesting each other affects your gameplay?
Okay.
So I was playing AD Flex, which was the less contested line compared to the TF. So I think people were either tier start or both start. I know Dish, I was just reviewing Dish, so I know Dish was starting tier and playing TF, and in a million of those games that he bought forward in, it was just he couldn't hit TF2 because he was contested like 3 ways. I think you could have done the scouting. I didn't know TF was going to be such a hot commodity until I started playing scrims on Wednesday, like right before, and I realized that TF was, well, 1, a line I had to learn, but 2, not the line you want to default on because everyone was going to be playing it. So it's definitely like something you should think about going in. Like a player of Dish's caliber not making it because he leaned too hard into TF is pretty sucky.
Wasn't the final game of the tournament like 3 people took Annie-Augment on 2-1?
Yep.
I think.
Yeah.
I do think like overall player base on the tourney, like it was definitely AP heavy, but I think by the time it got to the final lobby, like it almost felt like it was actually more of an AD, like
yeah,
more
because
AD
a lot of
players.
people played AD advanced because they weren't contested.
Yeah. And then it kind of like felt like it should like swap around. Where like in the final lobby, like I think I played a small slinger game and I was like uncontested TF and I just missed anyways. Now I think of it. So yeah.
I played my two TF games in the final lobby. I didn't touch it once before because everyone else was already playing it, so I never had the angle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Kind of an adjacent question, actually. Rereplay, since you were prepping with Rippo and DPay, did you feel like you guys were contesting each other's units? I scouted and you guys just played so much Jin.
It definitely felt like that because like so I really like you said all the AD players were playing recurve, but like I personally like playing AD flex with a sword. And I just like play towards like DB a lot of times and I can just play a bunch of different carries off of that. But like that was kind of Ripple's game plan too, because like we prepped together, and like DK was a little more flexible. But like by the time we got to the final lobby, he was like, "Wait a second, all these AP players are not playing that well. Maybe I should just also start sword and play some Jin." And I was like, "Wait a second, this prepping thing was good to get to the last day, but now I'm thinking of it, it's like, are we in kind of a weird spot here?" Yeah, I think it ends up being like the game like you have to play flexibly, and I didn't end up playing that much Jin on the last day, but like. Yeah, it's a little suspect.
There's a lot of value in knowing what the lobby likes to play just in general, and just like being able to play stuff that's not that, right? Like in set 6, like early set 6, the tournaments were it was like day 1, all like 6 games of one lobby, day 2, 6 games of one lobby, rather than the lobby switching up. And so like one of the things I think gave me an edge back in that situation was that I would always just like see exactly what everyone likes to play, and then just make sure that every line, my default lines were just lines that were not any of those, so that I was never contested. Which you can do that in like kind of a final lobby situation too, right? You can see what the other 7 people are playing and be like, okay, well I can avoid this line, as long as I can actually play the other lines.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll go to like the second part of the question. I see a lot of NA are relying way too much on like the stats and like making a decision even mid-game, relying on stats. So I'm gonna ask how flexible and how open are you willing to play in your tournament games to take untraditional lines, kind of like Spetom going Mech Echo or Apis going Mech Raven or the 2 Cyclone games? How open are you to do it?
I mean, I wouldn't think it that game.
I mean, I play everything. So I'm definitely open to unconventional things if I understand it. Like if I understand the spots where it's good, then I'll pick it. But I'm not going to like go in blind. Like I'm not a cooker on the fly, if that makes sense.
Wasian, I feel like we haven't heard from you, but I did check out a little bit of your stream today, and it did seem like you were cooking up some new stuff.
Oh, yeah.
How open do you feel like you are?
Okay, like usually on stream, like I just end up like playing for fun a lot because like my friends are like in chat and they're like telling me like, yo, you have to take this augment, yo, you have to like take gold admin here, like that kind of thing. So I just end up like not playing the game too seriously on stream. But yeah, in a tournament setting, I would say like I rely very heavily on stats. Like I'm a very big believer in stats. But at the same time, I have lines that the stats would say are bad, but I think are good. So like there's like certain lines that even though they're like not good statistically, like I would be like happy to play them.
Mm-hmm.
Replay, what do you think?
I kind of think a lot of like 95% of the time the stats is right. Like, and then it's just you have to be able to identify like the 5% where like your spot or something changes it, so like the stats are actually lying to you.
I think I only look at stats like 1 in 3 augments or fewer.
Yeah, like I personally like usually when I'm playing a game, I have a second monitor and like the stats are already pulled up, and like, I don't really use it all that often. But like if I'm ever like I see 2 augments that are really close and my spot really close, I look at the stats; they're also really close, and then I'm making my decision myself. But like I do think they're helpful.
I think the future of TFT is when we play on LAN, we make everyone play on an iPad so that we know that no one is looking up stats. I am genuinely curious, actually, how banning tactics tools, meta TFT, etc., would affect regionals placements. Because I actually do think that it would shake things up.
I personally don't think it would make a big difference because everyone playing regionals has played so many games that like they already know their stats in their head.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I think
have the
everyone
stats
would just
pulled
make
up,
like a
but-
conscious effort to like go and memorize like everything beforehand instead of just like knowing that they can look it up on the fly. Like I don't actually think it would change much.
There was this moment on Don't Talk If You Don't Know, their last episode, where they were talking about this question of like what was the most balanced patch of regionals, and Frodan or I think it was Frodan. Someone mentioned that like set 3 was pretty balanced. Replay, you actually were there. I don't know how much you remember about it, but what I thought about instantly was like, okay, well in set 3 we didn't have tactics.tools. We didn't have meta TFT. Like there were no stats tracking things. Like I guarantee you it was not as balanced, but it was just a lack of information. Like I think that if any of the old sets had the resources that we have today, the meta at any given point in time would probably change wildly. I mean, obviously sparing like completely broken points in time where something is clearly stronger than others. It's crazy to think about like how the lack of information changes things.
Also, I thought that was crazy when I started playing this set because I didn't realize people had stats when I started playing this set. So I was just playing like.
How are they so good?
Yeah, I was just picking random stuff. And then at some point, like, I don't even know, I was like, watched a stream or something, and they pulled up like the stat page. I was like, wait, what? Like, people are playing with this? And I was like looking at the stuff I thought was strong. I was like, wait, it's not that good? Are they sure? Yeah.
Wait, so when did you actually, and I'm sorry, Demasian, to kind of pull away from your take, but when did you actually take a break and come back? You might have mentioned it earlier, and I'm just blanking.
So I played set 3, and then I haven't really played like much besides that. I think I played like maybe almost a month in set 6, and like maybe like a few games in other sets, but like nothing crazy.
What is it that actually made you come back?
I don't know. I played a few games in set A. I thought it was like really interesting, and I was kind of tired of working, so I kind of just quit my job to play TFT. Yeah.
Really?
We take those.
All right, I feel like we need a longer conversation about this, so I'm gonna pause here.
I didn't quit my job to play TFT. I more so quit my job and then at the same time decided to play TFT afterwards.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, Demasian Raptor, I think we covered your question. Do you have any follow up you wanted to ask?
No, I just wanted to shout out you, Appies, Boises, EGC Sport, and like Mordog and the TFT team for doing so much to the community and giving us the best of all. And good luck to NA. Shout out to Joe Bookmark and good luck to NA, but you is gonna win well.
Boo, get out of here.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
He is the number one Joe Bookmark fan in the world, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like basically running around, like the equivalent of running around Twitch with like a megaphone, like just talking about how good Joe Bookmark is, which we take those, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Bookmark almost able to make final lobby at TC3, right? Like we don't just hand those out. New Jersey's too stacked, baby. All right, we've got one more take in the waiting room. Let's pull that in. All right, Mr. Incredible is here. Mr. Incredible, where are you calling from?
I am calling from sunny Florida.
All right, what do you want to talk about?
All right, it's actually a pretty good follow up. You already touched on some of the stuff already, and I know you guys are already like talking about camaraderie, and then also like this sort of, I don't know, middle school dance dynamic where you like might plan prep or you might not, like someone just has to take the initiative. How much maybe like secret tech are you willing to share with each other? I know a lot of the times people go into tournaments with some like hidden tech. I know Demasian mentioned Cyclone was played a couple times. We saw cleansing do well on earlier patches when it was worse data wise. So yeah, I was just wondering if you have any hidden tech and if you're willing to share with the other Worlds reps to get any of the dub, or if you're going to hold on to it.
But don't leak it on stream.
Yeah, don't leak it on stream. But if you're, yeah, don't make it that public. But you know.
Oh, personally, like, sorry, you can go ahead.
No, go ahead first.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, personally, I like never hide tech. Like, I would rather like talk about what I think is good with other people and make sure it's actually good before like getting tricked by my own tech and like getting baited by it in a tournament. So like I like never hide tech really. I'd rather just like show other people and like talk about it and like talk about whether it's actually good and like have other people test it.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same because like going into day 3, like me, Ripple, and D-Play, we all like were reading our games, and like in my games, I was doing things that I thought were strong early game, which like I don't think other people thought they were strong early game, or like I did things that like looked questionable, but I thought like had good reason to do, and like it ended up like they liked it too, and they're like, oh, I might do that tomorrow or something. I was like thought about it, I was like, wait, but it's us three in the lobby tomorrow. I don't really want you to use my tech tomorrow. But yeah, so.
Mr. Spreadsheet speaks.
For me, tech is like knowing specific lines, and I think you could get confused by too many lines. Like it is a skill that I don't think you can just study. So I'm willing to release tech. People could confuse themselves. Someone was joking that I should put Winds of the Wanderer on top of my spreadsheet and then just release it and pretend like I think it's good, because it's not. I had a rant about Riven on stream also. I could also write, Riven is a great unit and you should buy and play it a lot.
That reminds me, today, Tolides, like we were playing together, and he bought like a 2-star Riven on like, he had a 2-star Riven at like 2-1 or something. And I was like, you just wasted 10 gold. And I was like, you lost yourself the game, you're going to buy for this game. And he was like, no, my SWAT is insane. And he ended up going 5th.
Yep. That unit sucks.
Like he got built out too. He got like MF on 5 and everything, and he went 5th. I was like, you just don't have any money for the rest of the game. Like you can't play it.
Yeah. So I'm definitely willing to, and also I'm not really playing for just myself. I think it'd be really cool if any of the enemy players do really well. So I'm definitely like, everything is out. And also, even though I won, I do feel like I'm a lesser known name, and I'm not even sure if people want my tech. So I'm like, if you want it, come get it, right? Ask me for it, but I won't force it upon you.
JukeYou at the forefront of trying to bring NA together to defeat the Titans.
I'm like the old guy. I'm big bro, apparently.
Yeah.
I was saying like, oh, these guys are kind of quiet. Maybe they're just nervous because they're young. Frodan started the chat earlier today, and I was like, no one's really talking.
I was actually going to ask if there was some sort of like official group chat or Discord server of like Worlds players. Is it just the competitors, or is it like the North American? I don't even know, like the crew,
brain trust.
Yeah, exactly. All the brains in North
trust.
America.
I want to pick this brain on everything possible, because I think that man is a genius. So I wish I could get him, but it's right now it's just us and the don't talk if you don't know guys.
Gotcha. Mr. Incredible, was there any follow-up that you had? Or anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, not exactly. I know Wasian had a stacks on stacks game that ended in a 6, which was like kind of sad. But then Rereplay was reviewing it, and he was talking about how he likes to play hacker with the line, which is like, I don't know, like, when do you even play that, like, to begin with? So, like, I'm just wondering. It's not even follow-up. It's just like, yeah, I'm just interested to see if we see any weird line like that come out at Worlds.
Man,
I
so
feel
you
like
just came on there and leaked the hacker and NASA stack like that?
Is that even I've already played it.
Yeah.
I played it in a solo queue game. It fits really nicely because, you know, Riftwalkers, it fits.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, why are you even taking stacks on stacks to begin with? But like, if you have a line to play with it, then.
And do you think, going back to the previous thing, like how much do you trust stats? Like I think that's one of the examples where like you look at this augment stats and it looks awful. That's because 90 people are not playing it this way. I think it's like Hacker Nasus is actually a pretty reasonable comp to play, and like I think I would take it in tourney from a reasonable spot. I think Wasian kind of liberal his game, to be honest.
Yeah, agreed.
we also saw someone play not a stacks on stacks game, right? So who was it that re-rolled Nasus without stacks on stacks? You guys know what I'm talking about?
It was Garchomp.
I heard it was Garchomp. I know Roby also did it during Mech Cup.
It was Deathblade Runan's QSS 6 mascot. But
he was mathematically eliminated, so I thought he was trolling, but maybe not.
Yeah, I think the Garchomp line worked because he ended the game with like it was basically just like a normal Riftwalker board with a Nasus 3 and 6 mascot. Because I think he basically just naturaled the Nasus 3, and then like he had Vex 3 and like itemized Jin 2 as well. It was like a crazy board.
Sully, I feel like you and I kind of come from similar. I mean, I don't feel like you and I do come from similar backgrounds in the sense that we both kind of come from Smash, where like camaraderie and like regional pride is like a very real thing. Do you actually feel like in a hypothetical world where like you actually make worlds as set, or inevitably when you do make worlds, do you actually feel like that's something you personally would feel? Do you think you would feel more of that camaraderie than we've seen of previous reps?
I don't really think so. I don't actually talk to many people in the TFTs. Like, I don't have like a study group or like I have some good friends in the scene, but like I don't feel like I think like similarly to these other, I don't feel like I am like, oh man, I'm an NA player, you know, like I just feel like I play TFT. So I like, as much as I like to say like, hell yeah, like I get crew battle vibes and, you know, like, let's go, you know, the NA versus EU crew, but I don't think exactly how I'd feel.
One thing I noticed on ladder is that some people are really down to banter and some people aren't. Some people are like, why are you talking? Mute all. And then like Socks was like bantering. Yeah, exactly.
Everywhere these days.
So definitely that meta of deafening, it does not help camaraderie.
Oh, wait, aren't you someone who deafens on 2-1 JukeYou in tournament?
Oh, in tournament, I did. I did not for any other tournament, by the way. But to be fair, I didn't know what the command was. I was like, what is it? Mute all? It doesn't work. But I was locked in, so I deafened.
All right. Well.
Oh no! Actually, no. The reason why I deafened, the reason why this is spicy. I was tilted in Mech Cup because Dish. So I was contested Yasuo, and Dish told everybody to hold Yasuos because it was contested Yasuo. And if everyone just holds 1 or 2 Yasuos, then we're going bot 2, right? And maybe that's the right play, but like I don't think it was even legal to tell the lobby to do that. Like everyone can come to the conclusion on their own, and that's fine. I like misplayed by picking blind, and the other guy picked blind really fast, and we both ended up in that spot. But like I was kind of tilted because he said it in chat, so I was like, you know what? I'm just not gonna see it, even if he says it next time. So I deafen now.
Well, yeah, it was a deafen diff. Once you deafen, you won the tournament. So thank you, Dish Soap.
Yeah, I actually think there is like some value in like muting during tournaments because like I mean the one big thing is like if you click think fast and like people are like. I mean, I don't know like what you think of this play, but like you could like start like spam pinging their board. And, like they either have to like stop their thing fast to mute you, or they like it's like really distracting. Which is like it's like kind of a scummy play. But
if we're in the same lobby and we see someone pick think fast, like a Chinese player, we all go onto the board with our little legends and start spamming emotes because you can't mute that.
Oh, nice. That's the dark tech we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, this is the hidden tech.
Oh yeah, the other hidden tech is like when someone's cashing out underground, like you just go stand on their items.
It's amazing. What were you going to say?
The thing you do is like the Malphite chibi is like kind of dark in color. It's like hard to see through. So if you stand on like your bench with it during a think fast turn, like you actually can't see the unit behind it. So like if you get like 3 people, like 4 NA players to do that, like you can just.
Why do you know this?
Because like I know this because like there's one time one guy was streaking with it, so he had like a really large one. Like some reason he was just on my slots, like while I was rolling on like 4-1 or something. I just couldn't play the game. Like I just like I wanted to hold some units. I was just like, what unit is behind us? I just had no idea. I couldn't play.
We figured out how to beat China. This is it. We've done it.
At that point, just fly to their house and just fucking break their computer.
All right, well, Mr. Incredible, I want to thank you for allowing us to discover the tech that NA needed to win Worlds. But is there anything you want to shout out before you go?
Yeah, I mean, I also come from Smash before TFT, so I'm like very well aware of the even just like watching Mango versus Leffen in person and like hearing USA chants. It feels sort of uncomfortable to like hear a crowd of people like yelling USA at a European player, but when I'm watching from home, I'm definitely going to be doing that. So shout out to you guys. I can hope any brings it home. That's it.
Oh man, I'm just waiting for the day where like one of like TC4, we have an international player, like Wasian comes from Canada, and he's in the final off against the Tri-State player, and everyone is chanting USA. We can only dream. All right, Mr. Incredible, thank you so much. Is there anything you want to shout out before you go?
No, that's it. Yeah, just hoping NA can bring it home.
All right, thank you so much for coming on. We'll catch you next time. All right. Well, I'm going to call it there. I did see we had another take, but it's already not 9:30. I want to respect everyone's time. So let me just go ahead first. Thank everyone. Seriously, Wasian, JukeYou, Rereplay, Setsuko, obviously not here, but thank you three for coming on, and congratulations to all four of you on advancing to the World Championship. Every set, it is so exciting to see our representatives, and maybe you don't feel that camaraderie, but I mean, as a viewer, we definitely feel that with looking at this group of representatives and saying like, this is who we're sending to represent us. And it's a real tangible feeling to have that sort of fandom in the game. And I'm very excited that all four of you are sending or going to Worlds to compete for us. Appies, I don't know if you had any thoughts to kind of close us out.
I think he said it about as well as anyone could. Yeah, it's going to be a really cool Worlds, and I'm excited for the people that we're sending.
What I'm going to do first before we go is just give you three the floor. If anyone, you want to just give some closing thoughts to kind of round out the show. Wasian, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. Like, thanks for having me on today. It was a lot of fun. A lot of like interesting questions to talk about. And also nice to meet like JukeYou. Never really talked to JukeYou before, so that's nice. Can I shout myself out or?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, all three of you, please give all the platforms where people can find you.
Oh yeah, sure. So I'd like to show on my Twitch, like it's like WasianIverson _TFT. I've been streaming recently, and also my Twitter, it's just like WasianIverson. Yeah, so thanks.
All right, JukeYou.
Yeah, it was super fun to come on and like do the sort of post regionals like rounds with all the different podcasts. I think my head's been so in TFT, I can't do anything but talk about TFT, and it's been silent recently. I'm like just letting it all out here. It's really fun. So that was great. And I'm streaming a little bit, but not to stream just because it's post regionals. Some people want me to see me streaming. I'm doing it for them. I used to stream a little bit of Double Up. Shout out to Double Up people. Apparently, Hong Lian was the Double Up champion, like back when they had that one tournament for Double Up. So just saying, Double Up is where all the good players are at. Yeah.
All right, Rereplay.
Quick side note though, I haven't played much Double Up, and then near mid-set, I played a little bit of Double Up, and then I realized since mid-set, I've gotten a lot better at the game. Just saying, like,
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like a coincidence.
All right, actually, let me plug something more. I'm not. The reason why I think Double Up made me slightly better of a player, not like that much better of a player, but like slightly better, is that Double Up is so much about win con and tempo. Because there's only 4 groups in the game. There's one person who is winning out, and everyone else is playing for the top 4 spot or the top 2 spot. So you really have to know what your position is and what your power spike is supposed to be to make sure that if you're not the win out, you are the 4th place. So like really not just ignoring the tempo of the lobby is kind of important. And sometimes if you are in the win out spot, you have to deny someone else's win out, which is also really important in solo TFT. So like, I think there are like real tangible skills that are much more in play in Double Up, but like you can actually use them in solos. And
another Double Up shot I think, which makes the game kind of good also, is like I think scouting, like scouting in normal TFT, you can get away without scouting the whole game. But if you actually want to be a good Double Up player, like you have to be able to know what your board is and what your teammates' board is, like what they want at all times. Like you don't want to be like just talking back and forth. Like you want to have a good understanding of what you're both looking for. And like if you hit some early game units, like what they're looking for, like so you just don't roll past them and things like that. So like it kind of makes you more aware of more than just your board, which you can kind of get away with in solo TFT. TLDR just played Double Up, I think.
Yep.
Do you have anything else you want to shout out? Replay? Where can people find you?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. People can find me. I don't really use a Twitter, but like I started streaming. I'm gonna try to stream like every day. It's on Rereplay TFT.
All right. Well, thank you again for all three of you coming out. Thank you to everyone who was watching. Today was a really lively show, actually. Hopefully we can keep up this momentum because, you know, it was much more fun when we got the chat going and people giving their take. So if you guys want to support the show, make sure you subscribe on Spotify and anywhere you find your podcasts. You can check all of this out on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/ganglytft. Forgot about that for a second. And obviously on the podcast app or on Spotify, rate it 5 stars goes a long way with helping in discoverability and things like that. So again, thank you everyone for watching. Appy's, did you do your shout out? You actually didn't, right? Is there anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, I want to shout out you. I think people don't necessarily, I've heard some people realize, but you really pour your heart and soul into making sure people have good TFT content, and you're being a great host on this. So thank you.
Appreciate it. I feel like I'm
comments. You say thank you too.
I'm getting gassed up a little too much tonight. It's not good for. I work best with ego. So I need someone to break me down a little bit in the comment section. Thank you very much. But again, thank you everybody for watching episode number 12 of Hyrule Radio. We'll be back probably sometimes after Worlds. If make sure you follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/Hyrule Radio to know when the next episode is going to happen. Make sure you join my Discord and get all those notifications. And I think that about covers it. I have more content coming out on YouTube this and next week, so make sure to look out for that. And that's going to do it for episode number 12 of Hyrule Radio.